So if you're looking to get more out of Elementor Free but feel inundated with all of the options available, let me show you 6 freebies that I think add a little something cool to the table. Now, each of these free Elementor plugins has some unique features or provides a little design flair that's worth considering for your next project. So, without wasting any more of your time, let's take a look at the first of my selection of awesome free plugins for Elementor. So let's get the ball rolling with WunderWP. Now, don't be put off by the look of the website. It isn't what you'd call overly stylish, which is kind of ironic really, because it's all to do with styles for Elementor. Now, the reason I think this is a really useful little plugin is because it allows you to not only use predefined sort of design ideas for different widgets, but it allows you to easily create and save your own, and then you can share those between different sites. Now, you do need to have an account to do that sort of sharing, because it's going to store your details in the cloud. Whether you are happy with this is entirely up to you, obviously. But for the features it gives you, I think it's definitely worth a punt. So, how does it work? Well, let's go ahead and install it first of all so we can take a look. So we're going to do a search for WunderWP. And once we find that, we'll just go ahead and install it. Once that's installed, we'll activate it, and then we are pretty much good to go. So you can see at the top it says, in order to save your Elementor styles and templates into WunderWP, you need to connect your site to the cloud. So if you want to do that, like I say, do it. All you need to do is click on connect, and it'll then go through and ask you to put your details. If you've already done it, it'll save those as cookies, and as you can see, it's going to allow me to just simply go and connect this. So I'll connect that up, and it'll take me back in, and now we are connected, and I can have access to any of the template files that I create, or any of the styles that I create for any of my widgets. So let's take a look at how easy it is to work with. Let's just go and create a new page, and from there we'll open up Elementor, and we'll start working. So we're just going to call this Wunder Test, and we'll just publish that, and say yes, we'll publish it. Then we'll edit this with Elementor. Once we open up the Elementor editor, we can go through and set things up exactly as you normally would. You can see this extra button, and we'll come back to that in a moment once we've taken a look at how things work. Now, I'm only using the free version of Elementor, and throughout all of this, it'll only be the free version we're taking a look at. So all the plugins, everything I talk about works perfectly and expands what you get with Elementor Free. Okay, so let's just take in something really simple. Let's just say we're going to grab a button, and we'll drag and drop that button onto our page. And there we go, there's our button. We now have another section called presets. We open that up. There's 2 sides to this. We've got the pre-made, which are the ones that are part of WunderWP itself. And in all honesty, they're not overly inspirational. But you can click and immediately apply that styling directly to it. All really nice and quick and easy. However, the fun comes in when you take a look at custom. Now, if we jump over there, currently there are no presets created because I haven't created anything. So let's just change the way this looks, and then we'll just save this and take a look. So we're just going to come into our button widget, and we'll do the normal things. We'll come in and we'll just jump into our styling, for example. We'll set a color of this horrible green. Then we'll go to the hover state, and we'll set this to blue. We'll change the typography to something else. Now, obviously, you could use this in conjunction when Elementor 3.0 releases and you have the global styling options. That, in conjunction with this, I think could be quite a useful little combination. But like I say, for now, it's still quite cool. We can do all of this kind of thing. So we'll say we're happy with the way that looks. Now, all we need to do is come in, making sure our button is selected under the content section, come to our presets, jump over to custom, and providing you're logged in to your WunderWP account, we can now save this out. So we're just going to call this green button. Okay, so we'll hit new preset, and that now saves that preset. So if we just create another button, and we just drag and drop that button onto our page, you can see that picks up the default styling we'd have as part of Elementor. Come to our presets, come into custom, and we'll just simply say apply preset, and boom, it's done for us. So really, really easy to work with. But like I say, this is now available to us anywhere on any other site that we use the WunderWP plugin, and we have that connected to our WunderWP cloud account. So we'll update this page, and I'm going to just open up another test site on a different server completely, and I'm already logged in, got the plugin installed, and I'll show you how easy it is to do that. Okay, so I've logged into my separate site, and as you can see, a completely different set of plugins. We've got WunderWP installed, so let's just go and open up and create another new page. on our test site. And as you can see, I'm not using Gutenberg on this one, so it's a completely different site. We'll publish that and we'll just edit with Elementor. Now this is currently running the beta version of Elementor 3.0 and has Elementor 3.0 Pro beta installed. So you can see that it should work fine across all these different kinds of things. So let's just go and add that button in like we've done before. We'll update that library a second. And once that's done, we're going to come down to our presets. We'll open that up and you can see again all the same options in there. Obviously looking a bit funky because we are running a beta version. Go to custom and you can see there's our green button. I can simply hit apply preset and boom, it's done. As simple as that, and hopefully you can see as quick as that as well. So it's quite a cool way of working when you want to create styles that you may want to use as the basis for multiple different sites. It really doesn't get much easier than that, to be honest. So what else do we have with this? We have one extra feature. So let me just go back to our original test site and we're back inside there. We have some extra options. We've got this new icon. So let's click on that to add a WunderWP template. And click, and that'll take us into the browser and we can take a look at a lot of pre-made templates. So what kind of things do we have inside these WunderWP templates? Well, ultimately, a lot better design than you have on their own actual site for WunderWP, which is kind of ironic, really. However, we have a couple of different sections. We've got All, which will show us everything. Elementor, which is going to show us just the templates that are available for the free version of Elementor. And then you've got the Elementor Pro option, which obviously ties into various different widgets and things that are only available in Elementor Pro. As we've only got Elementor installed, we can take a look at these. We can subcategorize those based upon the different kind of sections. So for example, features and services and so on. So we've got a range of different types of designs. So let's take a quick look at some of these templates. Let's come back up and say we'll look at Elementor and we'll just get rid of this filter so we can see all the different templates. And like I said, I think they do look pretty good. There's not bad looking starting points for various different kinds of sites. And the fact, like I say, it's included as part of what's already quite a useful little plugin, I think is a bit of an added bonus. So let's just take a look at, for example, this car. We'll just insert that and take a look at that. So we'll let that download all the relevant assets. And there we go. There's our header section inside there, all fully editable inside Elementor itself. So quite cool. And that's the first plugin I wanted to take a look at and draw your attention to. More to do with the ability to easily create these sort of shareable styles that we can just save to a project, save to the cloud, and then use them wherever we want, either inside that project or another project if we're working with a cloud. So I would certainly recommend taking a look at WunderWP if you're interested in this kind of thing. So next up on the list is Stratum, and this is 20 plus free widgets for Elementor. So again, like I say, this is predominantly all about if you don't have a need, don't have the money, whatever the reason to not be using Elementor Pro, there are a lot of really good free options out there that open up a range of extra possibilities. So what do we have? We've got things like banner ads, circle progress bars, image hotspots, and so on. But what's quite cool is you've got things like advanced posts, for example. So I quite like the look of these. If we scroll down, you can see it gives us a nice way of outputting and showing our posts, which obviously if you don't have Elementor Pro, you don't really have any control over using this kind of widget because it is a Pro-only widget. What else? Well, we've got things like pricing menus, pricing lists, flipboxes, tabs, accordions, all those kinds of cool things. So I've already gone ahead and installed it into our test site, and we're going to do the same as we did before. We're just going to add a new page and take a quick look at just a couple of these widgets. So let's just create a page called Stratum, and we'll publish that and open up Elementor. So let's just find those Stratum widgets, and we'll just scroll on through until we get to those. There we go. So let's take a quick look at just a couple of these different widgets. Let's kick it off by taking a look at, let's take a look at the masonry gallery. Gallery is always a good indicator of what a particular plugin looks like, and let's just add some images in there. So let's just take these ones, for example. We'll create a new gallery and insert that into a design. Okay, so this is what we start off with. We've got a nice looking masonry gallery, nice hover effects on there. So that all looks pretty cool. What options do we have though? Okay, so image size, we can take a look what versions you want to use. So obviously, depending upon the size of the gallery, you can control the quality of the images to make sure your site is at least decent speed loading. Animate on scroll. So that will start loading them in and animating them as you scroll down the page, which is quite a nice effect, especially if you've got a bigger gallery. You can control that animation effect. So we've got things like flip, for example. So again, quite nice for the fact that this is a totally free plugin. I think that's a pretty cool effect. We can adjust obviously the columns, so we can set how many we want to display inside here. Set that to 1, for example. Come on, there we go. Oh, 2 is the lowest, okay. You get this, so you can control the spacing in between your images. If you want a larger space in between, you can do that. And animation speeds, zoom on, hover, all quite cool. I quite like that. You can colorize, so you can have a black and white gallery that has multiple different effects on there. And the same kind of thing, we can adjust the opacity, the overlay color, and so on both hover and on the normal state. So it's a pretty good start, I think. Definitely worth considering. Let's close that out of there and let's take another look at what else we have. Let's try something like, let's take a look at the advanced posts widget. Let's drop that inside there. Okay, looks a bit rubbish straight out of the box, it has to be said. But what do we have? We've got a carousel option, so you could easily set up a carousel of posts. That's quite cool to see. We've also got a grid, which is kind of more what I was looking for. Now we've got a little note here saying that if we enable the masonry grid, we do lose some of the options. So I'm not too bothered about that, but you can obviously adjust this to get what you want. And we could set this to say, for example, 3 columns. And we've also got query settings, so we can control how this works. Now, there are some pro-only options, but to be honest, most of it's available to you for free, and it should do a good sort of portion of what most users that don't need Pro would actually do. Okay, so that's quite cool. We can set these kinds of things up. You could use this to exclude the current post. So if you were creating some kind of design and you wanted to have the post at the top and you wanted to have these as being sort of like other posts to take a look at, you could do that. So that's quite cool to see. We've also got some filtering options. We can choose whether we want to use posts or pages. And I would assume, I haven't tried this, but if you have something like advanced custom fields or custom post type UI and creating custom post types, this would probably give you the option to pull those in as well. If you'd like me to check that out, if you're interested in this and if it would work alongside advanced custom fields, let me know in the comment section below and I'll take a look at testing that out for you. Okay, so that's quite cool. The styling, for example, we can come in and we can edit this. So we can adjust the columns, the rows, we can put box shadows, border types. So we could say we wanted to have a solid border. We set that to be 0. We'll put a radius inside there. We'll set a box shadow. And we'll adjust the settings on there and the opacity to make this considerably more subtle. There we go. So you can see this does give you some nice options straight out of the box. You've got options then for the image, the title, so you can control all these different aspects, the alignment, whether you want that to go over the actual image itself, which is quite a nice touch. We can adjust the typography on there, so we could set this to something a little bit more stylish than is currently being used, and obviously a little smaller. So all pretty cool. I like the look of that. We can adjust the hover and so on, so we can control things on there. So we can say we want to put a color on here, for example. Oh, so I tell like that's the text, my mistake. Anyway, so I think you kind of get the idea of how this works and whether you think it would be something that is useful for you. But for me, I think there are some nice options inside here to start off with. And again, because it's a free plugin, it opens up what you can do with the Elementor free version. It's definitely worth checking out for some of your projects that don't require the Pro version. So next on our list, we have Happy Add-ons. And again, this is the free version and it ships with a ton of free widgets. So let's just jump over into the dashboard of our test site. I've already gone ahead and installed this plugin. And if we jump over from the Home tab to the Widgets tab, we can see all of the different widgets that are available. The nice thing is we can just filter this out to see only the free options, the ones that we currently have access to. So let's just tap on that. And as you can see, there is quite a lot of free widgets that we have as part of this. Now, the thing that I like about Happy Add-ons is the fact that we can easily enable and disable any or all of the different widgets that are available to us. So you may only want to have 1 or 2 and you want to keep the file size down, the speed impact that any kind of plugin will have on any kind of site. Well, you can just disable things And my understanding is with Happy Add-ons, they are very, very good at optimizing things and making sure that when you have these on, if you're not using various different widgets, it does reduce the impact upon your site. So you can only enable the ones that you want and then speed up and streamline the whole process. Okay, so that's kind of what you have as part of this. And as you can see, we've got quite a lot, including things like the ability to easily come in and style things like ninja forms and things like that, gravity forms. So if you were using one of these form plugins and you don't really like the way it looks, you could tap into this free version and take a look at using that to customize it, which is pretty cool. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these in action. Let's create another new page like we've done before. And what we're going to do is we're just going to call this Happy and we'll just publish it. Then we'll open up Elementor and take a look at those add-ons. So let's just take a look at what Happy Add-ons gives us. Okay, so there's all the different icons for all the different widgets that we have available. So let's just test a couple of these out. Let's take a look at, let's start off with the info box. Drag and drop that in and take a look. We'll just split this down so we've got a couple of extra copies in there. So we'll just duplicate and we'll duplicate one more time. It's more in keeping with what you do. And now you can simply go ahead and make any kind of changes that you want. So you can see we can use both icons or images, and we just choose any image we've got uploaded. So let's just choose this as an option. And you can see it's really simple to start working with. We've got control over pretty much all the aspects of it, the title, description information. We can adjust the button text, the link it goes to. We can apply icons to that. We've got a wrapper link, which I believe is a feature that gives you the ability to create wrappers around any of your elements as part of Happy Add-ons, and you can then set that to be clickable to go to another section. So you can make the entire wrapper a link, which is pretty cool. Like I say, if you want this kind of option, you don't have it as part of Elementor or Elementor Pro at the moment, this does give you that feature. Under styling, we've got all the things you'd expect to see, so we can adjust the width of the image, for example. You know, we can set that to a percentage value, whatever we want. We'll just change that back. We can adjust the height, the offset, the bottom spacing, shadows, all those kinds of good things. We can adjust the description, so we can control the text, the styling, all those kinds of things. Now, even though we're using the free version of Elementor, if you were using this with Pro because you wanted to tap into these things, you could then link a lot of this through to dynamic data as well. So you can see dynamic information is available for various different things. So the button, we can control all the aspects inside there. So a pretty cool starting point. Let's just get rid of that a second. Let's come back down to our happy options. And what else do we have? We've got an image compare, which is a nice thing. So if you've got a site that's showing a before and after of something, this is a nice and simple way of working. So we'll just choose an image for our before, and we'll choose an image for our after. Obviously, these are going to be completely different. So let's just quickly test this out now. Let's just preview it, and you can see there's our before and after. Works seamlessly, nice and easy to work with. And like I say, if you were working with dynamic information, you can tap into that dynamic tags as well, and dynamic data is available to you if you were using Pro. But it's nice to see how easy it is, and some of the features that are available, some of these widgets are not exactly, poor widgets. They are very, very useful widgets that you could use in many different projects. Under your settings, then you can control whether it's horizontal or vertical, whether you want to hide the overlay effect. You've got a lot of different options. You can adjust you can see we can do it on a hover, so you just literally don't have to click anything. And you can just change it to any of those options that you want. So really easy to work with. Styling, again, you've got full control over the various different aspects of this particular widget. And another really good option. So let's just get rid of that and let's just try one more from this Happy Add-ons. What are we going to try? What are we going to take a look at? That's the question. Let's take a look at a card, for example. We'll drag and drop that onto our design. Okay, we'll split this again into a couple of copies. Okay, so what do we have? This is very similar, I suppose, to the first option we took a look at, but this is now specific to a sort of card option. So you've got some slight different options inside you. Let's just choose an image to work with. We can create a badge on there if we want to, so we could put in any kind of info we wanted inside this badge. We could then style it. We can control the button. We can control the title and description. The styling, all those options are inside there, including styling the badge. We may say we want a particular background color. Let's just say we wanted that to be this pale blue. Well, there you go. We can set that to pale blue, and we'll set our text to white, and all very, very easy to deal with. But it does give you some really nice starting points. And I think if you were creating simpler sites, or you had, you didn't have any budget to really fork out on something like Elementor Pro, this is a perfectly viable plugin that I think is definitely worth taking a look at. Now, once you get to the point of having several different add-ons installed into Elementor, alongside even the free version having all the list of all the different widgets that Elementor Pro has, things can get a little bit unwieldy. This is where Flexible Elementor Panel comes in. I've already gone ahead and installed it, and I'm going to come in and we're going to take a look. And this is basically what it does. It gives us more control over this left-hand panel. We'll find as we expand, we'll get more rows, which makes life a little easier. So if you're working on a larger screen or a wide screen, you can very easily have quite a lot of different widgets all displayed in one section. We can also come in and we can close this up completely, which makes it pretty cool. So you can see we can hide that out of the way. It's still there in the top corner. We can, if we want to, also move this over. So if we wanted it over to the right-hand side, if that's the way you prefer to work, you can do just that. So you've got a lot of simple options inside there just to streamline the way things work. But we're not stuck there. We have more options available. If we come into the little hamburger menu, we have a section called FEP Settings. Click, and we can now control how this all works. So you can disable the draggable panel if you don't like that. You can use the flex grid for widgets, so you may not like to have that ability to flexibly sort of move around the number of different widgets that are displayed in any given section. Well, you can maximize, you can control this, you can do whatever you want with it. You can change the editor skin. You've got a ton of options. You can also do things like control the exit button at the bottom, so you can choose what that does. So by default, this will take the exit view, will take you to view, but we could change it to edition, last page or post, admin dashboard, or the Elementor library. So this is a quick way of using that to jump you out of this section into something completely different. And again, entirely up to you. If you want to use it, you could disable it, you can do whatever you want with it. Responsive options, we can control how this works. The accordion widgets, so you can see first tab closed only in editor. Tools and information, so this gives us some info about how things work. So you can customize this to your own preference, but like I say, it just gives you the ability to edit this so much quicker. It's just so much easier to work with. It's just nice and simple. But the one thing I really love about it, when you come to this little sort of fly out arrows, you can open and close things up. If I right click instead of left clicking, boom, they all shut at the same time. So when you have a ton of different plugins installed, this just makes life so much easier. You want to go to site, I can open up just site now, and I can close that one down, and I can come back to Pro. I can expand this out if I want to get more per section. So I can click to open up this basic section. And if I want to open them all back up, I can right click and everything is back open again. Super cool, super easy to work with, and just makes the whole interface of Elementor just a much nicer place to work, to be honest. So next on our list of great free plugins for Elementor is Elementor Header, Footer and Blocks template. Now, I covered this in its own dedicated video not too long ago, so I'm not going to go into it in too much detail. If you'd like to check that out on how to use it fully, I'd recommend checking that out. I'll put a link in the corner and I'll put a link in the description so you can take a look at it. But I wanted to include it in here because I think it is something that really opens up a lot of functionality that you don't have out of the box with the free version of Elementor. So what exactly does it allow us to do? Well, let's come back over to our dashboard. Head into the appearance section, and from there we have a new entry called Header, Footer and Blocks. So we're going to click and open that. And now we can create either a header, a footer, or a blocks template. And we can assign that then to various different parts of our site. So if you wanted to create a more customized site with your own custom headers and footers and apply those to specific locations or globally on your site, well, you can do that with this plugin. And it works in a very similar fashion to what the Elementor Pro headers and footers do. So let's add a new header in just to test this out. We'll say add new, and from there, we can now give this a name. So we're going to call this default header. And once we do that, we can then choose the type of template that we want to create. So we click and open that up, and we have 4 different options: headers, before the footer, footer, and custom block. Now we're going to choose header for this example. And like I say, if you'd like to see this in action, where I go through all these different aspects, check out that video. But for now, let's just choose header. We then open up the display on and user roles options. And these are very similar to the conditions you have as part of Elementor Pro, but it also has some extra options inside here, specifically user roles. You can't do this inside the standard Elementor Pro at this point in time. Maybe it's something they'll add later on down the line, I don't know. But you can choose the user role and also whether someone's logged in, logged out, or everybody gets to see this particular header. So you could easily set up multiple different headers to be used on the same pages or globally, but have different content inside them based upon the template, and then apply that based upon the user role. So an administrator would see different things to an editor, to an author, and so on. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to leave that set as it is for a moment. We're going to say the display on, and you can see inside there we can now choose where do we want the template we're going to create to be used. You can really get quite granular in this, but what we're going to do is keep it super simple and say entire website. You can add extra rules, you can add exclusion rules if you want to, and again this just opens up the possibilities to really fine-tune exactly where this template for your header, your footer, whatever is going to be used. Then under the user role, we're just going to say this is for everybody. So whether you logged in, logged out, no matter what user level, or not even logged in at all, we'll say all. And again, you can add additional user rules if you want to. You can also say enable layout for Elementor Canvas template. In other words, if someone's using the Elementor Canvas template, which is predominantly used for a completely blank page for things like landing pages and so on, so no header and footer templates are used, you can override that and say that this particular header or footer or whatever it is you're creating will be used as part of that Canvas template. So that's quite a cool feature to see. We're going to leave that disabled and we're going to hit publish. So we've set up the rules for this. Now we can just come into edit with Elementor and we can start creating things. Now we're not only limited to being able to create these headers and footers and so on, we have extra widgets that we can use now to build this out to create something more unique. Again, things you'd normally expect to see in Elementor Pro. So we've got a new entry called header and footer blocks, and you can see using our flexible panels for Elementor just makes logging into this section so much better, and it remembers the status of what these panels were like between different sessions. So again, a really great time saver. Let's open up our header and footer blocks. Inside there, we've now got a range of different widgets. We can set up retina images, copyright, navigation menus, page titles, and so on, site logos, those kinds of things. So now you could easily come in and start creating your own custom setup. So we could say we want to create something really simple. Now I haven't assigned anything like logos and so on, so I could set this up as a basic template and then flesh that out later on by just adding in a menu inside WordPress as normal and adding a logo as part of my template, for example. So let's just take a look now. Let's just add those different elements in. So we're going to say we're going to put the site logo into the first section. As you can see, it just drops in the placeholder. But we can do things like set up the alignment of it, what size image you want to use. So we can say full size, for example, if we'd uploaded a logo. We can say it's a custom image if you want to choose something specific to this particular header. It could be different, say, for example, to the rest of your site. All those options are available. Come into style, you can control all the different aspects inside there. If we then come back out of this and go back in and choose the navigation menu and drop that over to the right hand side, you can see that it currently says there's no menu set up inside here, but you can easily set that up as part of WordPress itself. So let's just set this to be something like centered. We'll do in the middle for there, so everything is centered. We'll just set the background, for example, to a different color. So I'm not too bothered what it's going to look like. I just want to show you how easy it is to do this. Let's just set it to this blue color. Okay, let's come back into the menu widget, and you can see we can control the layout of this. So we've got control over both the layout of the normal menu and also the mobile responsive menu. Under the styling, you can adjust all the things you'd expect. So let's just set the text color, for example, to be white, even though we're not seeing any text at the moment. But you can also control the drop down. If you're using multi-level navigation, you can set how that's going to look. And you can also then control the menu trigger for how this all works. So let's just update that. And we say now we've created this, even though we've put no information inside there. So now if we come back out and exit to our dashboard, let's just open up our site a second. And we'll see inside there, there's our header. Okay, so let's just come back into, for example, our appearance and into customize. And from there, we'll assign a logo to our site. So we're going to come into our site identity and we're going to select a logo. I'll go ahead, quickly upload a couple of sample logos so we can see what we're doing. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose the white one to compensate, or to complement, I should say, the blue. We'll just say skip cropping and give it a second or so, and there's our logo. So we'll finish with that, and then all we're going to do now is come back out of this, quickly hop over to our appearance and into menus, and from there we can just assign a couple of pages. So we'll say select all those, and we'll add those to the menu. There we go. We've got a pile of menu items on there now, and we'll just take one or two of these off, because otherwise it'll probably just end up being a little too big. So we'll create our menu, and once we've done that, we'll set this to be our primary menu and save. And because we set this up as a template, we can just edit these at any point in time. So if we come back in, we'll refresh this, and you see everything is now in place. And we can easily jump back into that template and style everything the way we want. But it's super easy to work with. And again, it's just another one of those great little plugins that just gives you a ton of options if you don't have Elementor Pro installed, but you still want to be able to create custom headers and footers. So really cool. And check out, like I say, the full-length tutorial on this, where I go into a lot more detail and explain how all the different aspects work, including dealing with responsive mobile layouts and so on. It's pretty cool. Okay, so if you're lacking inspiration and you want to start off with some really solid designs, you may be thinking, I need to buy a template. Well, before you rush out and do that, let's take a look at starter templates. Now, even though we're using Elementor in this example, you could be using Beaver Builder, Gutenberg, or Brizy, and there are templates available for this plugin, all there for free. So what we're going to do is we'll install that, and we'll take a look at how this all works and some of the options this gives us as a great starting point for building eye-catching looking websites with WordPress. So with that installed, all we need to do is come back into our dashboard, go into Appearance, and we're going to come to the Starter Templates. And inside there, that's going to give us the ability to choose what page builder we're going to be using. So we're using Elementor in this example, so we'll choose that, but you could use any of the other options available, and you'd get a range of different templates based upon the page builder that you're using. Okay, so what do we have here? We have a range of free options, and we have a range of not free options. Now, anything that says agency is something that you'd have to have a paid for account. So let's just filter these out now, and we say we only want the free options. And there we go, there's our free options. And as you can see, there are some great looking starting points for sites. There's also quite a large selection of options available. So we can easily just pick and choose what we like. So let's just say, for example, we like the look of, let's just scroll up. I like the look of this organic store. We can click on that and open it up. And inside there, we have more options available. We're not restricted to having the entire site. We could just load in any of the individual pages that are part of it. So the home, for example, the about, the contact. So we might like the look of one of these pages and want to use that as the basis of working with our design. This now gives us the ability to easily just pull that in, pull any assets that are associated with it in, and use that as the basis for testing things out and then configuring and designing our site. If you want to see it in all its glory, you can click on Preview the name of the site. We'll click to open that up. And this will then show you the entire site, so you can get a good idea of this is the perfect option for how you want to start off. So you could change every aspect of this. You could simply use this as a starting point to get your designs up to speed and then move on with whatever you want to do. Now, it's worth noting that this is actually from the developers of the Astra theme. And while these were originally built on the Astra theme itself, they're no longer tied into it. So you can use these with pretty much any theme. It's pretty much agnostic to the theme. But if you wanted to use Astra, you could certainly do that. And it's very easy. Once you kind of find the site you like, you can click on either import the complete site or import the page that you're currently looking at. If we say import the complete site, that's going to come up and give us a list of options of the things we can do. So we can delete any previously imported sites if we've tested things out to see if we like the look of a previous design, didn't want to use it, want to start fresh. Well, we can select that to delete everything that's from that original or previous copied install. We can choose to install and activate the Astra theme and any customizer settings that are associated with it, any widgets. Install the required plugins, you can see, is checked by default, because obviously to make this work, if it's WooCommerce, for example, you need to have that installed. And obviously then you've got the import content, which you can choose to do, or you can just choose not to do it. So you load all the relevant assets in, minus the content. So quite cool. You can choose whichever option you want. And it's normally pretty quick to work with. So that's the sixth and final plugin that I wanted to go through in this series of free tools that I think expand what you can do with the free version of Elementor and give you a ton of options to get so much more creative and open up some really nice extra features without spending a single penny. If you've enjoyed this content and you'd like to see more like it, maybe a specific one on themes that I would recommend, let me know in the comments section below and I'll take a look at creating more content like that for you. So that's what I wanted to cover in this video. Hopefully you've seen these 6 freebies really do add a little bit of something and have something a little different to many of the other free options out there. If you enjoyed the video and you want to find out more about any of these plugins or anything I've covered in the video, all of the links are in the description below. As always, my name's been Paul C. This has been WPTuts, and until next time, take care.